Hey guys, Brian from Snowwalker Bushcraft. Thanks for joining me with another episode of Shadows in the Forest. And this is going to be the last installment of Prickett's Fort, and then we're going to go on ahead with some of the footage later on that I was able to secure before I had to take my hiatus. The last two presenters that we're going to discuss is going to be a character that's portrayed by Suzanne Lerner, and that's Mad Ann Bailey. And Mad Ann was kind enough to let me film her performance. So we're going to go over a little bit of that. I cannot show you that performance in its entirety. Suzanne asked me not to put the entire performance up on YouTube, and I'm going to honor that request, but I can put little snippets in, and I actually got to have a little interview with her about her character and how she came to be, and we'll show that. The last one is Mark Baker. I had lengthy discussions with Mark Baker. Everybody knows him from Pilgrim's Journey. He used to write for Muzzleloader magazine, and he also wrote Sons of a Trackless Forest, and I've been reading that as well, gaining more knowledge and insight into the Cumberland Longhunters or your 18th century woodsmen. So again, Mark let me film the entire presentation that he did. He had two lectures, two presentations, and again he did ask me not to put it up in its entirety for the very simple reason it's his research, and I understand that. So I can put up snippets, and you can get a little taste of it if you ever get a chance to go and actually listen to Mark. You know, a wealth of information, very personable guy. You know, we had a couple lengthy discussions while we were at Prickett's Fort. So let's go ahead, let's check it out, and we're going to go ahead and, you know, I hope you like this installment.
Survival in life and dealing with other individuals on the frontier, and there's no better person to tell you the plight and the story than Mad Ann Bailey.
So, you've come to hear a story. To hear a story of a mad woman. If you think I do not know that that is what is said behind my back, but surely not to my face. So today you have come to hear the true story of a mad woman. Well, I will tell it. For it is a tale of madness. But I did not start that way. No, hardly do I think many of us do. 'Tis life what brings on madness.
Okay, so here we are at Prickett's Fort and the School of the Longhunter, and we've been here and we've had lots of different speakers, and one of them has graciously allowed me to do an interview as well as film her performance here. And this is Suzanne Lerner, and she is Mad Ann Bailey. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give her 5 quick questions. I'm going to let her tell her story, and then a little bit about the basis behind what she does with donations or the pay that she gets for doing her performance. So Suzanne, let me ask you the first question. Why the 18th century?
Oh, that's a good question to start with. I fell in love with the romanticism of it, the clothes. Men look fabulous in these 18th century clothes. I feel great in these 18th century clothes. But really what actually got me started into it was muzzleloader shooting.
Okay.
I learned to shoot when I was in high school, and my stepdad would take me out to shoot, and it was really the only thing we did together or had in common. But turned out I could shoot pretty well, and I liked it. And he let me drive his Corvette on the way to and from the.
There you go.
so maybe that was what started my whole love of shooting. And then I kept up shooting, and my ex-husband got interested in black powder, and I I was a little skeptical about it at first. You know, we'd been hunting for years, and black powder just didn't really get my attention for a while. But then we started hearing about these rendezvous, and I kind of was like, okay, so we go and we shoot, we throw tomahawks, and we do archery, and we do all these events, and we get to dress fun. I'm in.
That's a home run.
It was a home run right away. And so I started out with a Renegade.
Okay.
I think everybody, well, not everybody obviously, but I started out with a percussion Renegade and loved it. Just fell in love. And then I just decided I wasn't going to do any more modern hunting. I would only use my muzzleloader, and kept that up.
Very cool.
Yeah, I began traveling alone most of the time. I would travel from home to home, fort to fort, Finn Castle, Randolph, even to that place, Point Pleasant. I would travel, and I would go, unmolested in those woods at that time, without fear. The blackness that came over me protected me, I can assure you.
So she's also a pro Second Amendment person.
Yes, I am. That's true. And I transitioned after I got divorced. I stopped shooting the percussion gun, transitioned over to the flintlock, and fell in love with that. Just absolutely. It was a whole new level. I just felt like it was, you know, going from modern guns, then to percussion, and then on to the flintlock guns was just more and more and more challenging.
So even though you actually started with a modern weapon, it was still a progression.
Yeah, for me
even
it was.
though you were going backwards.
Yes, exactly.
Which is kind of like what I've done too.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now, Mad Ann Bailey. Why her? Because is it because that there is not a lot of documentation on women?
For a lot of reasons.
Okay.
One is that I like to shoot, I like to hunt, I like to throw tomahawks, I like to do all that stuff. I'm not inclined to sit around camp knitting a doily or something. That's just not my interest.
Right.
And when I first started, you know, I'd get these jury applications for events like this or Martin Station or something. And I was faced with this white piece of paper that said, what are you going to do? What are you going to be? And I didn't have a husband. I didn't have somebody that I was attached to. I wasn't attached to an army. I wasn't going to be a camp follower. I wasn't going to be a camp follower, if you know what I mean. I wasn't going to do any of that, and none of the more female-oriented things seemed appealing.
Okay.
So I looked around and looked around. For a long time I even dressed as a man and did that whole thing for a while, and it just wasn't enough.
Okay.
I wanted something that was more real and based on history. And actually I came here to the School of the Longhunter and dressed as a man, and I started talking to some people around here, and of course West Virginia is Mad Ann Bailey's home. This is where she was. And a few people told me about her, and I started thinking, wow, now here's this woman who was called Mad for a reason. She didn't dress entirely in women's clothing. She, like I was at the time, was wearing buckskin leggings. She was wearing her husband's hunting frock. She still stuck with the modern convention at that time of wearing her petticoats. Otherwise, she would have been completely out of society. But I just looked at all of those things about her, and the fact that she shot and that she hunted and that she did all this on her own, and that appealed to me. So I went back and just started the research.
So it just flowed right into the niche that you were looking
It
for.
really did. I felt like when I came into the Kanawha Valley, she spoke to me and said, this is it. And I started researching right away and read everything I could get my hands on. Everything on the internet, books, poems, you name it, anything that had Mad Ann Bailey in it, I had my hands on it.
How long did it take you to research, or more or less, how long
Still
have
going.
you been researching?
Since '08. I mean, it never ends. I'm always looking for something new. And it's hard because it's just not out there. Women's history is not, it's just not written, and it's a tough subject to find good documentation.
And I did hunt, and I did spy. I scouted. I delivered news of where the savages were gathering. I gathered any news that must be carried from one place into another, and I carried that news. And many a man who would hear the tales of widows and children that were torn from their mothers, many of those men, they stood up in the taverns at night after many a drink, I'll tell you. Many of them would stand up and they would say that they would fight too. Indeed they did. And we were fighting not just those red men. No, indeed, you know it yourself. At that time we were fighting my own countrymen. Men in red coats as well as men in red skin we fought.
Has man been perfected?
Mm-mm. Absolutely not. Today, a really sweet little girl asked me, she's like, how do you do that? And I said, well, she's like, can you teach me how to be a good actress? And I said, let me tell you one thing. I'm not an actress. I'm a storyteller. I can't do that. I can't memorize lines and say them exactly as someone else wrote them. I tell a story, and it happens to be a true story, and I tell it as if I were Anne, as if it were happening to me. But every time I tell it, it's different. I say it just a little bit different, so it stays fresh for me, interesting and fresh. And sometimes I talk more about Braddock's defeat, or I might talk more about Lord Dunmore's war, or we'd spend more time talking about the war aspect of it. Or other times we spend more time talking about being a widow and the devastation of that on the frontier.
And the loss of it. That is madness. In 1794, my John was taken from me, murdered. I cannot say more than without the madness taking over. And once more I found myself alone, traveling. Still there would be letters that were carried, and goods as well.
That part of it, it actually struck me being the first time that I've seen this, because I've had friends that have been overseas. I've had family members overseas. I've had to watch their wives and what they've had to go through waiting for their husbands to come home. And that leads me to my next question, which completely blew me away, and what you do with half of your proceeds.
Well, I am very fortunate to have a very a wonderful job. Monday through Friday, I have a wonderful job that I love, that pays me well. I work hard, and it pays me well. This I do because I love history, and I love sharing living history, bringing history to life. So when I am fortunate to be paid to do this type of an event, to perform as Mad Ann, I take half of the proceeds that I make and I donate to the American Widows Project. And that way, today's widows are benefiting even today on what Anne experienced. But make no mistake, I'm a storyteller. I don't presume to know what it's like to lose a husband. I try to bring that to life for people so that they understand why was she mad? Was she angry? That's what people ask me all the time. Was she angry mad, or was she crazy mad?
Right.
She was both.
Right.
She was really, really angry, and she was definitely for her time and place out of her mind.
Very good. Suzanne, thank you very much for that.
My pleasure.
And you're going to see this, guys, on Shadows in the Forest. When I get it up, I'm going to have excerpts of Suzanne's performance. I will put a link up to the American Widows Fund.
Yes,
right?
yes, I'll send you that.
And contact Suzanne through, do you have a website?
I do. Well, email madannbailey@gmail.com.
Okay. And I'll put that link up as well. And I thank you again very much
Absolutely.
for your performance. Thank you
Thanks,
very
Frank.
much for the the interview. And This is Brian from Shadows in the Forest, and we'll see you soon. Thanks. All right, so here we are at Prickett's Fort, and we got the Pathfinder crew here, and we're going to actually go over the different items that we're wearing, right down to our footwear. And to my left, I got Dave. So Dave, what are you wearing today?
Well, O'Day to smoke of campfire at the moment.
Okay.
But for clothing.
For clothing.
Starting at the bottom, I guess. High-low trucker seen in period paintings all the way back to Thomas Jefferson. Got just a pair of wool stockings on that go from the bottom all the way up about past the knees. A pair of French fly breeches. Long hunting shirt, leather belt. Regular wool inside and out waistcoat. And that's about it. Shooting bag accoutrements and all the good stuff that goes with it.
There you go. What I'm wearing right now is just a plain pair of puck-toe mocks. I have my leggings on with a pair of...
puck?
Puck-toe. Okay, just checking. Puck-toe. With my leggings.
Shouldn't really use that kind of language.
Probably shouldn't. Yeah, probably not. A pair of drop front breeches, a hunting shirt underneath, and just a linen waistcoat up to the flop hat that I'm wearing right now. I have my shooting bag, powder horn, and my accoutrements, and I got my 62 smoothbore Fowler. Steve, what do you got?
Oh, today I took the buckle shoes that just come up to the ankle and buckle shut. Brain tan leggings with a garter. French fry breeches.
French fry?
French fry breeches?
Did you say French fries?
French fly.
French fly.
French fly.
French fry.
Breeches.
You want some French fries with that?
A checked linen shirt underneath a frocked hunting shirt or rifleman's frock, depending on what you want to call it. And then a workman's cap, then horn shooting bag with the accoutrements, and the 50 caliber Virginia rifle.
Finally, we got Jimmy Kane.
Here's Jim. I'm going all natural. Footwear, and just leather leggings here. I got a long hunting shirt here and a weaved belt, a regular leather belt, my knife, and breech clout, which you can't see.
Could you explain to us, Jim, how this breech clout works?
Well, it's about that wide and it goes down there and
No demonstration?
How's that sound go again?
just check.
That's pretty good.
It goes up, down, and around, and
Interesting.
Very cool.
very
I bet it is very cool too.
Yeah.
You get a lot of updraft with that?
a little bit
Venturi effect?
on windy days. You know, I can't do the Marilyn Monroe thing, but
Oh, we appreciate that. So we're at the School of the Longhunter. We're having some fun. We're yucking it up a little bit. We finally had a break in the clouds, but now the clouds are coming back. So we'll be back with a little bit more later on. Thanks.